To get the most out of Google Analytics, it is essential to set up and manage your tracking ID correctly. A Google Analytics tracking ID is a unique identifier that allows you to collect and analyze data about your website traffic and behavior. Here is a step-by-step guide to best practices for Google Analytics tracking ID. First, create a Google Analytics account and set up a new property for your website. This will generate a unique tracking ID that you will use to collect data. The tracking ID is usually in the format UAXXXXXX and is used to identify your website and distinguish it from others. Next, install the Google Analytics tracking code on your website. This code is a small snippet of JavaScript that you place in the header of your website pages. It sends data to Google Analytics every time a user interacts with your website. Make sure to install the code on every page of your website to get accurate data. One of the best practices for Google Analytics tracking ID is to use a single tracking ID for all pages of your website. This allows you to track user behavior across your entire website and get a complete picture of your traffic and engagement. Using multiple tracking IDs can lead to inaccurate data and make it difficult to analyze your website performance. Another best practice is to avoid using the same tracking ID for multiple websites. This can lead to mixed data and make it difficult to analyze the performance of each website separately. If you have multiple websites, create a separate property and tracking ID for each one. It is also essential to keep your tracking ID secure and do not share it with anyone who does not need access to your Google Analytics data. You can control who has access to your Google Analytics account by setting up user permissions and roles. Finally, test your tracking ID to make sure it is working correctly. You can use the Google Analytics debugger to test your tracking code and make sure it is sending data to your Google Analytics account. You can also check your website data in Google Analytics to make sure it is being tracked correctly. In conclusion, setting up and managing your Google Analytics tracking ID is crucial to getting accurate and reliable data about your website traffic and behavior. By following these best practices, you can ensure that your tracking ID is set up correctly and that you are getting the most out of Google Analytics. Remember to use a single tracking ID for all pages of your website. Avoid using the same tracking ID for multiple websites. Keep your tracking ID secure, and test your tracking ID to make sure it is working correctly.